y bienvenidas a Sex and Spanglish, where we empower mujeres to get in touch with their bodies, own their pleasure, and where we discuss all the cochinadas our abuelas didn't tell us about. Hi y'all, my name is Ana, sexpert, certified sex and life coach, proud Latina, and your go-to guide for all things sex. I'm here to help you get out of your head and into your body to have mind-blowing sex. Let's be real. La comunidad latina doesn't talk about sex. Pero qué suerte tienen because this Latina does. My vision is to have Latinas worldwide talking about sex just like we do with chisme. Join me every week to hear me discuss todas las cochinadas sin vergüenza. Bienvenida, mi gente. So today I'm going to be soltando toda la sopa on movement and how moving your body can enhance your sex life. So if you didn't hear last week's episode, we talked about meditation and how that can really improve your sex life and how you can implement it in like a super easy way with not like adding a bunch of extra hours to your day. So if you haven't heard that episode yet, you're going to want to go back and listen to that as well. And if you haven't heard the episode on dehydration and how that's impacting your sex life, that was from 2 weeks ago, you're going to want to listen to that one as well. But today, like I said, we're going to be talking about moving your body to enhance your sex life. So we hear all the time about how we should exercise more. We need to get moving. We should be less sedentary, right? And how healthy it is for us and how, good it does for our body and like all these things. But let's be real. Not everybody has the motivation to exercise or makes the time to exercise. They have other priorities. I get it. I personally like lifting weights and I like other types of exercise. But when it comes down to it, I'm like, maybe I'll just sit on the couch and watch the novela. Maybe listen to my favorite podcast, right? Like there are a ton of other things that I would rather be doing than exercise, especially if I'm not in the routine already of exercising. But would you change your mind if I told you that it would help with your sex life? Movement of any kind can actually enhance your sex life. It increases blood flow, it reduces stress, it increases mobility and flexibility. And I don't know if you know this, but there's actually a difference between those two words. So they're pretty similar, but I actually looked them up to make sure that I even knew what they meant. So flexibility actually lengthens the muscle when you're like flexing, right? So you imagine like flexing your arm, you're stretching that muscle. And it's actually the ability for the muscle to stretch, kind of like a liga, how it goes, you stretch it out and it goes back to how it was. That's what the muscle does. So imagine in a sexual position, if you're lying on your back and you could put your legs up behind your head, but you need assistance so like you're holding your legs or your partner's holding your legs, or maybe there's like a strap or I don't know what y'all do. But if you need assistance with that, that just means that, you're flexible, right? You can actually get your legs back there, but you need help holding them in place. So you're flexible. If you can get your legs behind your head and maybe you can only have them straight up or even like lower than that, right? Then that just means that you're less flexible. Okay, so that one's pretty straightforward. Now, mobility, that requires strength. And it's the ability for a joint to move in full range of motion. So if you think of your hip for a second and your leg, right, it's connected, there's a joint there. I don't know exactly how it's connected. I'm not into anatomy like that, but you know what I mean, right? So your leg moves obviously it's connected to your hip. If you have strength, if you have like the mobility, right, a strong mobility, then you can lift your legs up behind your head and you won't need assistance to hold them there because you will have the mobility. So I hope that makes sense. So the flexibility is the ability to have it back there. Like you can pull it that far, but it'll bounce back just like a liga. If you have the strength there, you are the one controlling it versus the muscle controlling you. or the joint controlling you. You have more strength. So exercise increases mobility, which is the strength, flexibility, which is the ability for the muscle to stretch like a liga. So let's talk about movement for a second. Let's define that. So movement, and the way that I speak about it, the way that I teach it in my coaching, is that it's literally just moving your body. Like when I tell my clients to get moving, I mean literally just that, like move your body. I'm not telling you to go out and lift weights, do yoga, Pilates, walking, cardio, dancing, like whatever. You can do those things. That's totally fine. You get to decide. But when I say move your body, I'm not only talking about those type of exercises. We often make words like exercise or movement to mean like a certain thing, right? So when we think exercise, like the first word that pops into my head, or the first phrase when someone says exercise, is I think of like going to the gym, right? Or like running on the treadmill, or the Peloton bike, or doing CrossFit or Orange Theory, or like those types of things are the words that come into my mind when I think of exercise. But another thing that I teach my clients is that definitions aren't always, the dictionary definition. You get to decide what exercise means for you. So going to the gym, running on the treadmill, doing CrossFit, Orange Theory, lifting weights, yoga, Pilates, walking, cardio, dancing, those are all types of exercise. That's great. But I'm literally just telling you, to my clients, and also you all, and I also consider y'all my clients, even if you don't pay me, you're, getting my content and hopefully applying it to your life. I'm asking you to move your body. So do you see the difference between the two versus just going and doing a specific thing? I'm literally just asking you to move your body. So pick an activity that you like and start doing it. So maybe it's chasing after your kids, right? We're talking about expanding this definition of exercise. Maybe it's chasing after your kids, dancing while you're washing the dishes. Maybe parking a little further back in the parking lot. I actually do this, but it's not because I want to walk more. It's because I hate how people drive. And I don't like parking in the front of the store because there's always a million cars and people waiting for a parking spot. So I just park in the first one that I see. But that's neither here nor there. Anyways, park a little further back in the parking lot of maybe work or the store. Take an extra lap around the grocery store. I do this all the time because I always forget something. But do it intentionally, right? Take an extra lap around here, even if you're at the mall or, any other store, Target or something like that. These things don't have to be hard, and you don't necessarily have to add anything extra into your day. You just have to be intentional about it. So I'm all about giving you like steps that you can take to enhance your sex life, right? I teach a lot about mindset, and there are also actions that you can take other than, your mindset. And I think that mindset is the most important. And I've talked about this in a previous episode, the ultimate life hack. So you'll definitely want to go back and check that out as well. It's not on YouTube yet. So if you're on YouTube, you're going to want to go back and listen on my podcast. It's available on iTunes and Spotify. But as I was saying, is that I talk a lot about mindset, and there are also actionable steps that you can take. Like today, we're talking about the movement, right? But any of these things that I tell you to do, I don't tell them so that you're going to have one extra item on your to-do list. Because typically for people that causes stress. And stress is the kryptonite to orgasms and pleasure in sex and in general. So find out how you can incorporate movement into your everyday activities so you're not adding anything extra. And if you want to, that's great. But you can also incorporate it into things that you're already doing. So when it comes to picking an activity, just pick something that you'll do. The best movement is the one that you're going to do. If you're not going to do it, it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit if you chose lifting weights or CrossFit or running or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. If you're not going to do it, it doesn't matter what it is. So, because I know you're going to ask, what is the right amount? The right amount is any more than you do now. So if you, I don't know, sit down and fold the laundry, maybe you stand up and do the laundry. Maybe you practice balancing. You're like on one leg or something. I don't know. You're doing squats while you're watching TV. You're dancing while you're washing the dishes. Whatever that is. More than you do now. And I imagine all of you do different amounts, right? So just more than you do now. And because I know you're going to say, okay, more than I do now, but how much more? I'm going to say 10 minutes minimum. 10 minutes. That's all you need. So decide what you are doing, like what activity that you want, and do 10 minutes of that, right? If you decide that you want to dance while you wash the dishes, okay, make sure that lasts 10 minutes. So I'm going to say 10 minutes every single day. The next thing is to decide what you are doing, so how you are moving your body is exercise. Change that definition for yourself and really work to believe that. Because in my opinion, in my definition, me moving my body is exercise, even if I'm not physically going to the gym, even if I'm not running, even if I'm not doing yoga or Pilates or whatever other, typical exercise that we think of. If you decide and you truly believe that what you are doing, whatever activity you're doing, is exercise while you're moving your body, then it's going to have an impact. Because studies show, and there are tons of studies out there that you can go and look for. So I'm not going to provide any because, there's a ton out there. Y'all can look for them. But studies show that the placebo effect actually works. If you think that something is working, then your body is going to follow that, right? It's like confirmation bias. If you think you're doing exercise while you're moving your body, if you're like dancing while you're washing the dishes, I don't know why I keep using this example, but anyways, if you're dancing while you're washing the dishes and you're like, oh, this is great exercise, like you're thinking like, this is exercise, this is nourishing my body, you're having a great time doing it, that it's going to have a positive impact on your body. And you might not be like ripped and have a ton of muscles or lose a ton of weight, but you'll be moving at least 70 more minutes if you're following that 10-minute a day mark. You're going to be moving at least 70 more minutes a week than you were before. So why not just decide that it's exercise? Who's to say that you can't? We all make our own definitions all the time for things. So decide what exercise or movement is for you. And the reason why I use movement instead of exercise is because movement is more broad, right? It can be anything. So pick an exercise, do it for 10 minutes a day, and watch how your sex life changes. I'll see you next week. If you'd like a question answered on the podcast, send me an email at sexinspanglish@gmail.com. That's sexinspanglish@gmail.com. If you like what you heard today and are interested in getting a personalized pleasure plan, head to the show notes and to get access to my calendar. You'll pay $69 for 69 minutes of life-changing information. Ya tú sabes, the shit that will make your abuela say, "Ay, hija, de eso no se habla." As a Latina sexpert and certified sex and life coach, I help you navigate your culture and your sexuality sin vergüenza. You won't find this anywhere else. Join me every week to hear me talk about orgasms, STIs, birth control, and all the other cochinadas your abuelas didn't tell you about. But that's not all. We'll also discuss machismo, la tía metiche, and sexual stories from other Latinas just like you. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Sex in Spanglish, and send me a DM or leave me a comment letting me know you heard this. And be sure to join my Facebook community, Latinas Cochinas. Espero verte pronto.